We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Welcome to the European Eracing League and European Eracing tonight. It's time for the fourth round of our series, which run at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, located in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, nicknamed the Diamond of the Desert. Las Vegas is a fast oval with a progressive banking from 12 to 22 degrees, a little bit depending on where on the track you are. In the tri-oval it's 12 of course, but in the corners it is up to 22 degrees. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is an oval course that opened in 1996 and is a 1.5 miler. With these next-gen cars that we will run today, it will be a little bit like a short, narrow super speedway. My name is Jonas Fors, and with me today I have Nicholas Falk as producer here at the Eason Studios in Stockholm, Sweden. And later we will hand over to our friends at RaceSpot, where Tech Director Arjuna Kankipati and the commentators Evan O'Leary and Dane Baird will take care of you. I will later be back with interviews and post-race analysis, but let's take a lap around Las Vegas with Linus Broström of Force Esports. Linus Broström, fast driver in this series. So as you all can see, there is a little bit of choo-choo train here around Vegas. You try to keep as far down as you can, but it's more important to stay in the draft of the cars in front of you. Here he's following the Lockhart racing car in front of him, and you can lift a little bit when you do the turn-in to get the car sit a little bit more. When the tires wear down, just about like 5 or 6%, you will feel that the car will push a little bit into the corner, and it's really hard to not push into your competitors when you're running side by side with them, and that might be an issue later on in the race. So we might see cars that are lining up on the outside to pass, and that is one of the strategies to actually come around and do overtakes here. But the most important thing here in Las Vegas will be to survive and have a clean car without any damages when it's time for the last 10 laps. So we're going to hand over to race spot in about 10 minutes, where the qualifying will start, and at about 25 minutes past 5 we will have our race start. And the European Eracing League is more of an elite league in Europe. We have you need to have a B license on iRacing, which is the platform that we were using, and an oval I rating of 2,500, just to keep the races clean and to try to lure the best drivers of Europe to race here. And you need to be a European citizen, or you need to live in Europe to compete in this series. So if you live outside of Europe, there are many other leagues that you can race, but not in the EEL. Anyhow, we will race every second Sunday and until December, more or less. So this is the 4th round, and it will be we will pass halftime tonight here with our friends on the track. So it will be really interesting to see how the race and the season will continue. Anyhow, last race was at Phoenix Raceway, and I think that we should have a look on that race. To European Eracing and the 3rd round of the European Eracing League. Today we're racing at the Jewel of the Desert, Phoenix Raceway.
Waiting, now he goes. Green flag is out here at the ISM Raceway in Phoenix, Arizona, and immediately able to defend his first place from the 16 on the outside. There it is, on board with Gunnarsson, has the 13 to the outside, and oh, that's a little bit of a touch, Seisedo, and then, oh, got spun around. Who was that?
There goes Duffin, first contact, boom. Second contact, nothing. Walsh got into some touch with Gunnarsson in the start, in the beginning of the dog, like you guys are gonna see now on the replay. What happened to the Kentucky HR driver going to the dogleg? Got a little bit loose. I think touched Gunnarsson. That was on the outside line, and unfortunately the car spun around because of the cold tires.
Linus Broström for the 3rd time in a row on the loud pedal, and there is another wreck, this time for 2nd place. At 24 into the 95, spun around, 4th caution in a row. Yeah, not only that, but Walsh also has still that damage on the left side. You're able to see it quite nice, and he adds to that damage. Caution is out, 37 around into the saber barrier as well.
The replay, what happened between Broström and Walsh. You're gonna see Walsh on the outside line. Linus just would a better run because of the better tires and made contact with the car of Walsh.
So braking or no, there's a little bit of a contact between 82, 84, 71 speeds around. No, that's a caution.
Yeah, this will be an extended green-white checker finish. As we see the replay,
there it is. Broström into the dogleg. Both go for the very last time of this race. The 9 deeper into it than the 12, but Hagman has all the answers for the questions. Norbert Leitner is throwing up, and the 12 comes out hopefully victorious one last time out of 4. Yes, in very deed. Hagman, your winner of the ISM Raceway here at Phoenix, Arizona.
Marcus Hagman, last race winner and the leader of the European Eracing League. Right now, we will soon have him here for a short little interview before the qualifying starts. And Behind him in the championship is Erik Blix from Alcantech NHR by Niemann Racing, and after him Norbert Leitner, wannabe SRT Yellow. Linus Broström, as we had the fortune to run with around this track, from Force Esports on 4th right now. Dominik Lukomski from Poland on 5th. Alexander Arlsson on 6th right now, and Daniel Solo at 7th position. Gabriel Stö at 8th position, and Cyril Nussbaum at 9th. Kevin Adam rounds up the top 10 in this series. Right now, 3 races into the season. And yeah, as you can see in front of you, we have a lot of fast drivers that you might have been raced in official races if you are a top split driver. Anyhow, we also have the team championship, and the leaders are right now Alcantech NHR by Niemann Racing at 675 points, chased by Force Esports at 630 points, and Force Esports Academy at 549 points. Wannabe SRT Yellow is running 4th right now with a couple of points behind the Academy team. Alcantech NHR by SimLab is running 5th, and this top 5 is the only teams that have above 400 points. And in the Country Championship, Sweden is the leader with 782 points. Hungary in 2nd, France in 3rd, Poland 4th, Finland in 5th, Switzerland in 6th, Spain in 7th, Ireland in 8th, United Kingdom in 9th, and Czech Republic, not Czechia, is on 10th position. So it's really fun, I think, to have a Nations Championship. The drivers also compete about this. Fans from Cooler Master, the case for the 2nd place, and fans for the 3rd place, and some mouses for 4th and 5th position. Logitech is handing over mouses and headsets, and a mouse pad for the winner, and a headset for the 2nd place, and the 3rd place gets a mouse too. So some nice prizes here, and also 1,000 euros will be distributed over the starting field here in the European E-Racing League from Eason Studios. Amazing prizes here in the European E-Racing League. Anyhow, we will have a short little break, and then we will be back with a short interview with the season leader, Marcus Hagman. And then we're back. In about 2 minutes, we will see the race in front of us. But with us right now, we have Marcus Hagman. Hi, Marcus.
Hi there.
How do you prepare for the race tonight? Now we will hand over to our friends at RaceSpot.
Hello everybody and welcome to Las Vegas for the 4th round of the European Eracing League for 2021. A big thanks to all of the guys at the pre-race show for that one, and we'll be going to them possibly after the race as well. We'll wait and see, but yeah, we've got 150 laps ahead of us this evening at this 1.5 mile circuit, the last one before we get to the finale at Charlotte at the end of the year. We're just coming towards the end of practice right now. Qualifying is coming up in a few moments time. That'll be 5 minutes long before we get into a 150 lap race at this famous motor speedway. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be taking you through the day on commentary with Dane Baird, and Arjuna Kankipati is going to be behind the cameras for this one as well. And welcome to everybody who's tuned in here this afternoon. It's good to have you along, and I hope you enjoy the race as much as we're going to enjoy bringing it to you. First of all, Dane, welcome along. It's good to have you here for this race. Las Vegas, 1.5 mile circuit, and I've been looking at practice. I've got to be honest. A lot of these guys have just been drafting off of each other like it's a super speedway almost. It's been quite remarkable. So I think we're going to have an exciting race. This season has certainly been interesting so far. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, thanks, Ewan. It's definitely going to be interesting. We've got the next-gen cars on display. Of course, a lot of people won't have seen too much of them. I know I personally haven't seen these cars around the track at all, other than the real-world testing that they've been doing. But as we get into qualifying now, like you said in practice, it was so close, not up at the top. The entire field was very, very close. They were running around practice lap after lap after lap all together whilst we were waiting in the green room, and yeah, watching them go around. It looked like they were having some good, pretty clean racing. Hopefully we can have some more of that after qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a very close championship to speak about as well. We'll do that in a few moments' time, but it's going to get pretty lively pretty quickly here. We're straight in with qualifying. Here's Jonas Gunnarsson on board with the number 33 here at the moment. He's had a fairly okay season so far, managing to get a 6th place last time out at Phoenix, which is his best result of the season so far. He seems to be steadily improving. I believe these guys get 2 laps in qualifying, although I'm not entirely sure. But his speed's certainly going to build up around this circuit, and it's going to be so close in qualifying because you know, there's really not much space to really make up a difference. So any one small mistake is going to cost you quite a lot. Ocean Walsh in 5th place at the moment is dropping back a little bit. A couple of tenths behind Eric Blicht, who's just gone to the front. It's going to be a very, very lively qualifying session with a lot of changes of position, I would imagine, because it's so easy to gain a few tenths and or a few hundredths even, and you can get a lot of positions even just from a very small time game, as Ocean Walsh has just gone to the front right now.
Yep, absolutely. From road racing, you'd say a gap of 1/10 of a second is probably going to it might not even gain you a position, but 1/10 of a second in oval racing, it can make the difference between 4, 5, 6, even 10 positions. We can see right now, 1/10 off the lead. You've got to go back to Salander already in 8th place, and we've only had the first round of qualifying laps. You can expect that to decrease as well as the speed has built up in these cars over the first out lap and first flying lap. But it is Walsh out in front by only 0.03 of a second. It's a very small margin, and then you've got to go back only 1.5 of a second to find 3rd place Aroldsson. So we'll see what Linus Brostrom can do out on the circuit at the moment. He's going to set his first lap, and it's only good enough for 13th at the moment, but I would imagine the second lap's going to be a bit quicker.
Yeah, the speed builds up in these cars massively as we get this wonderful camera angle that's really gives you a big sense of speed. Brostrom, by the way, is 4th place in this championship at the moment, only 29 points adrift from the top. That's how close it is. And so, yeah, he's going to be looking to qualify up towards the front and stay out of trouble, which can happen from time to time. I think it may well do at a circuit like this. Over the line for Broström, and it is a good time, but it's not going to set the world on fire exactly. 7th place for the 71 car on that occasion, so not bad at all. They've still got four drivers, to actually set lap times. It doesn't look like Bertrand Fourniret is going to set a lap time here. As over the line comes Robert Erling to set his first time of the day, and it's a 4th place for him. Kevin Adam of Spain and Martin Capel of the 64 car are the 2 remaining here to set lap times in this session, so not much time for them to do so, to be honest, but they're going to leave it late, and they've kind of made sure that they know what they're aiming for almost, and they can start to aim at that particular lap time here in the next few moments as Capel runs down the back straight at the moment and into the final couple of corners in the Ford Mustang at the moment, and we'll see where he can get up to. And indeed Kevin Adam, who is going out there at the moment, 16th at the moment only for him. Capel probably somewhere close, but they're both going to be able to improve as the speed builds on this second lap around.
Yep, absolutely. We've got that 1/10 gap I was talking about earlier. Slander's now down in 13th, so the top 12 drivers separated by less than a tenth of a second, which is really, really good to see. It's one of the things I like most about oval racing in these NASCAR cars, is that qualifying is so close, and you can literally not even see a difference between 2 lap times, and somehow you've gone from 1st all the way down to 8th place. A couple of drivers now still making their way through. Slander now down to 15th with that 1/10 gap, so really, really close in qualifying at the moment. And Ocean Wash still up at the top by 300ths of a second, and it will be good enough for pole position.
It will indeed. Kevin Adam was only able to manage 10th, and Martin Capel came in 6 thousandths behind him in 11th. So that is it for qualifying, and we'll be getting into the 150 lap race here in a few moments time. 225 miles are going to be kicked off by Ocean Walsh on the front row with Jonas Gunnarsson. It's Alexander Ardelson ahead of Tony Uvinen, who was in the wars at Nashville, I seem to remember. Robert Erling is 5th alongside Daniel Solo in 6th position. Dominik Lukumski is in 7th ahead of Norbert Leitner. Linus Broström able to get inside the top 10 alongside Kevin Adam. Martin Capel is going to roll off 11th ahead of Eric Blicht, who's in 12th. Somewhat remarkably, considering he's 2nd place in the championship. Paul Mazer 13th alongside last time's raced winner Marcus Hagman, and indeed championship leader all the way down in 14th. Andre Salander only just over a 10th back, but he's 15th. Eric Lundberg is 16th alongside him. David Ecke is 17th, ahead of Bertrand Fourniret, who is in 18th for France. And the final man who's going to roll off our grid here today, having not set a lap time in that qualifying session. 150 laps then, and championship implications are going to affect this one, of course, but we've just received some fairly big news here, Dane, really. Ocean Walsh is not going to be able to complete this race, it looks like, because it has to clearly go somewhere else. So pole sitter clearly in contention for a race win, since he managed to win, I believe it was the first round, the opener. Ocean Walsh managed to win at Michigan, so he's clearly going to be a race contender, but unfortunately he won't be able to stay with us for the entirety of this afternoon's race, which is a real shame, but he's going to blow this race wide open.
Yep, it definitely is, and not sure if the other drivers know that at this point in time, but if they do, they're going to be fighting for that 2nd spot if Ocean Walsh can maintain a lead out in front. They're going to be fighting for that 2nd spot as if it is for the race win, because of course it very well might be. It depends, of course, how quickly we end up finishing this race. If it goes without cautions, maybe Ocean Walsh might be able to stick around until the end, but he's definitely going to give it a go. He's on the grid. You can see that just trying to overtake the pace truck at the moment. Always nice to see the pace truck. You don't get to see that too often on iRacing. Usually they use one of the various pace cars on the service, but yeah, he is out on the circuit, which is good to see. We will get a nice a large grid for this race at Las Vegas as they go down the back straight, and we'll see what they can do on these opening few laps. It's going to be quite important track position, I feel.
It probably will be, yeah, and staying out of trouble, which is why I'm a little bit concerned for championship leader Marcus Hagman and 2nd place man Eric Blicht, who are both outside the top 10, and they could find themselves in trouble if they are not careful. Coming through 3 and 4 then on the pace lap right now, set to go racing. We've had 3 different race winners in the European E-Racing League for 2021. Ocean Walsh has managed to take one, Cyril Nussbaum, though Marcus Hagman has managed to win a race. Are we going to see a 4th different winner in 4 different races? It's Ocean Walsh who's in control of the field, and we are going to go green flag racing here at Las Vegas, 150 laps to decide who is going to be the winner of the 4th round of this championship. And straight away, it's a fantastic start for Ocean Walsh. Alexander Alderson has got himself into a good position here, 2nd place already. Jonas Gunnarsson dropping back already. He's 5th place, dropping back even further as Dominik Lukomski gets through on him. Not a good start for Gunnarsson whatsoever.
Yep, no, and he's stuck on the outside line, which is really pushing him back with the inside line so populated. They're all getting in the draft, of course, and really he didn't have much help on that first lap at all. I think he's got Norbert Leitner there. Big shunt into the wall, and there's another car there as well spinning around. We have the first caution of the afternoon, sorry. And yeah, that was a big contact with the wall from multiple drivers. It looked like 2 different incidents there.
It was. Ocean Walsh was involved in that one, I'm afraid to say, and it all came in this battle for the lead. The 2 leaders making contact, the 37 and the 24. Ocean Walsh was battling with Alexander Arnoldson, and they've both come into contact. Arnoldson wasn't even able to drive back down to the pit lane. Another big hit for somebody in that blue and black car just going through the bottom of your shot right now as well. Made contact with a couple of them. It just looked a bit like it looked like Norbert Leitner who made a bit of contact. Let's have a look at it from some of the onboards. He's going to have a bit of damage there, and some of the others are going to have a fair amount of damage as well here. You can see that car on the outside line. A number of cars with damage here early on. But yeah, it was a strange incident, it looked like, from those couple of leaders there. Just battling too hard, really, with still 149 laps to go. I wouldn't really advise battling that hard, if I'm honest.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an odd one. And then they wrecked, not really a massive wreck, but someone did get forced into the wall at the outside of turn 2 as well there after that incident. So a couple of incidents happening on that 2nd lap. Hopefully we'll get a bit more clean racing, but we said that Ocean Walsh has to leave early. I think that might have solved his way of getting out of the race. He's going to have to pull over and pit. You might not even be able to get back out at all. We'll have to wait and see. There is a minimum speed requirement as well as a maximum laps down from the leader's requirement, so if he doesn't get back out there soon, he might not be able to get back out at all.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's going to need those points. Because he's already got a 0 next to his name, and that will be his drop week. But if he has 2 donuts, then there's going to be some serious points lost, I'm afraid. And that one, we've got a number of drivers in the pit lane. We're expecting Ocean Walsh to come in, and we've got the others. So Dominik Lukomski, Daniel Solo, Marcus Hagman, Andrei Salander, all into the pit lane. And they weren't ones who were involved in the incident, I don't believe, but everybody has had more than 10 seconds worth of a pit stop, so I think everybody was repairing damage there, really, because yeah, they're a little bit longer than you would expect, especially for Salander and Solo there, who have both made their way out. It looks like those guys are going to get themselves on the lead lap, though, which is still what you need to do, basically, in NASCAR. Get yourself on the lead lap, and by that final caution, you need to be up there. If you are, then everybody's got a chance of winning, really.
Yep, absolutely. But we are, of course, a very long time away from the end of this race. This could very well be the last caution of the race. We don't know. It depends how cleanly the drivers take the next 145 laps or so as we head across the start-finish line to start lap number 5, still behind the pace truck. We'll see if the lights do go out. I believe the lights have just gone out on the pace truck, so we will be going 2 wide right here and get ready to go at the end of this lap. We'll go back to green. Hopefully we can get more than a lap's worth of green running in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a good. Marcus Hagman has come into the pit lane again, by the way, presumably to repair a bit more damage, but he needs to be careful that he gets to the back of that train before we begin again. Ocean Walsh, Daniel Solo and Alexander Aronson, excuse me, are all off the lead lap now, so we've already got 3 cars of the 18 off of the lead lap. Marcus Hagman may well be joining them before long, but he's after a quick 5-second pit stop, he is back going again now, and so he's going to be able to make his way through the field. Still plenty of time for him to do so, plenty of time for him to recover. You can see just in the background of this shot here, He's made it to the back of the train, has the championship leader, so that's good news for him, certainly, because he's only got a 4-point lead heading into this race over Eric Blicht, who is in second. And yeah, we'll see what kind of recovery he can make as we head through the final couple of corners for the behind the pace car for the second time already today. Let's see how far we can go on this particular green flag run. Hopefully these guys get settled in to a nice long run of good racing here right now. It is Tony Uvenen who's now in control of the field alongside Robert Erling, and we're going to go back to green flag racing here at Las Vegas with the first restart of the day, and it's a fantastic restart for Uvenen, who's able to get a couple of car limps on the field already. Side by side battling for second position. Kevin Adam and Robert Erling are going to fight it out as everybody else is kind of stacked up behind them.
Now heading down the back straight, and it is Bill Uvenen with a very nice gap to Kevin Adam just behind. It looks like they're single file for the first 3 or 4 cars, but they are side by side in the midfield, in the pack of cars, and they do have help on that outside line, so we're not going to see Jonas Gunnarsson have those problems that he had on the first start of the race, where he got stuck on the outside with no help and just dropped back like a fly. No, he's going to have some momentum there on the outside, as well as some of the other drivers. So somebody just joining the inside line, but it looks like the outside line might have more momentum here, and maybe they'll be able to get past the leaders.
Well, let's see, because Kevin Adam has managed to sneak down the inside of Tony Uvenen and take the lead away. Linus Broston was able to push him to glory there, and it looks like Uvenen has dropped back, and he slots in single file now in 4th place, as Norbert Leitner makes a good start here, or a good restart I should say, getting himself into 3rd place. It's all starting to single file out, but as you can see, there's not really very much lifting anymore at Las Vegas. It used to be a very challenging mile-and-a-half circuit where you would have to feather the throttle from time to time, but it's getting more and more wide open every single year, and more pack racing every single year with the way that NASCAR's rules are working in this day and age. And so we get more racing like this, really, with Kevin Adam controlling the field right now, everybody behind. But once you step out of line, it is literally like a super speedway. When you step out of line, you can get into a lot of trouble, as Robert Erling has found out here. Started this restart second, he's dropped 10 places already.
Yeah, the far outside line there, but got no help at all, and he's dropped right to the back of the field that are currently on the circuit. So that's unfortunate for him. It is very tricky to pull out and actually make a move. It's almost impossible to get to someone's inside, but then you try to go to the outside where there's plenty of room, because it's slower unless you've got someone pushing you. And usually it's only fast enough to make a move if you've got someone pushing you on the outside and the person on the inside doesn't. And that's also very rare. So you see drivers stuck on the outside line, they are going to be struggling to make up ground to those on the inside.
Like Martin Kapal is finding out as well, as Eric Blicht gets himself into 6th position. You can see the white, black and red car on the inside line. Then Dominic Lukumski is going to follow him through. So at 7th place for Kapal after just stepping out of line very, very briefly. They're certainly going to need to form up, and teammates are going to be helpful here as Norbert Leitner swings to the outside line. Not entirely sure why, but he's going to let a whole host of cars down his inside, including a very aggressive Eric Blicht, who makes it 3 wide, makes it work. Oh, and it doesn't work for some of those behind. Cars flipping into the air. We've got our second caution of the day, and that was a sizable accident. And it all started really with that 3 wide moment coming into turn 3.
Yeah, 3 wide. There was a bit of contact there. I think it might have been a bit of ghost contact, really. But there was some contact, and then bang, just turns around. Oh, that was a massive impact into the wall on the outside of turn 4. We're going to see this again, though. They do go 3 wide. Down the inside goes the 95. And then some small contact, and then I think it was Norbert Leitner just trying to get out of the way. They're still 3 wide here, and there. Gets turned around, sort of minding his own business, and around the front of the 31 he goes into the wall with massive impact there, and that's going to bring out the second caution.
Yeah, Paul Brazil seemed to be quite disorientated really by everything that was going on. We had Eric Blicht down his inside, and then didn't realise that Martin Kapal was coming down his inside either, and then that's what sent Kapal catapulting into the barriers. You can see that there's the first part of it, and then you just realise there's more cars coming, just turns across Kapal, and he goes spinning into the air. I'm afraid that's going to be a hefty repair for him We've got pit stops, meanwhile, by the way, live pictures. Most of the, well, I'd say about half of the cars on the lead lap are coming into the pit lane right now, including Capel, who was actually able to get going and repair that damage. Tony Uvenen has been in. Gunnarsson, Erling, Leitner, Hagman, Ike David, Mazir, Capel, Fourniret, all into the pit lane right now. Salander and Lukomsky, not surprisingly, stay out here once again, because they pitted under the first caution, so they are going to stay out. But Hagman wanted to top off with fuel on that occasion, so it leaves, remarkably, only 4 drivers who's not made a pit stop so far in this race. And considering we're only on lap 13, that is a bit of a surprise, but it's the way these caution-filled races can tend to unfold.
Yep, absolutely. It's the top 3 that have not pitted, and then of course Eric Lundberg in 5th place as well. So out of everyone who has pitted so far, you've got Dominik Lukomsky, who pitted in that first caution on lap 4, I believe. He pitted on that occasion, and he's just pulled into the pits now, I believe.
He has. I don't know why, but he's decided to go in a lap later than everybody else. And he's going to cycle back to the back of the field. Daniel Solo, by the way, has just gotten out of the pit lane. He's 9 laps down, on the field right now. But he might still be able to pick up some points. And that might be still good news for him, since well, it might end up being his drop week anyway, but it's still good for him to finish the race and get some points out of this one. Ocean Walsh, Alexander Arnoldson are still waiting for repairs to finish, so is Martin Capel at the moment, but particularly Arnoldson has only got 3 laps to get back out there, because don't forget, you've got to complete 90% of the race. You can only be 15 laps down. If that ticks over to 16, I believe, then you have to pull into the pit lane, and you can't hope for an insane amount of laps back again. You've got to just retire the car, I'm afraid. So really running against time, but these cautions are helping Arnoldson if he does indeed want to get out there and be classified in this race.
Yep, they definitely are helping. The more time that he can spend repairing his car whilst the driver's out on the circuit going slower, it's going to give him a bit more time to try and get those repairs done. And hopefully get back out onto the circuit, albeit he will be at least 13 laps down, which is obviously not ideal, but it does mean that he has the chance to get a lucky dog or something along those lines and try and get some of those laps back. But yeah, it doesn't look very good for Alexander at the moment. A couple of other drivers nearing that 15 or that 16 laps down markers, of course Ocean Walsh, who is currently down in 17th, but is 10 laps down, soon to become 11 laps, I believe, as the lights on the pace track are out and we're getting ready to go back to green.
We've had such a chaotic start so far, but will the amount of incidents or anything calm everybody down and sort of, everybody wants to get into a rhythm now? Will it be a calmer restart here, or are we going to see some of the same craziness? Because that's the trend so far. Are we going to see more of that?
I'm not sure. We've seen a couple of odd moments, but for the most part it looked like it was good, clean racing, and the field is a slightly smaller now as well, so we'll just have to wait and see at this point, I think. I don't think I'm going to try and predict anything of that nature, but definitely this race so far has seemed to be slightly chaotic, and hopefully drivers will calm down. We will get some good green flag running. Maybe might even get some green flag pit stops, and that would be a treat.
It would indeed, but we've got a long way to go to find out if that's going to happen, really. Hagman and Erling came in again there, by the way. Not sure if that was a fuel thing or what, but certain strategical things possibly happening towards the back of the field. Let's go green flag racing again then, and hope that we can get a little bit further this time around without any intervention from the pace car once again. Kevin Adam in control of the field. The green flag is back in the air in Las Vegas, and we are racing once again. I guess the question is, how long is it going to take for it to get single file? Well, it looks like a very diluted restart indeed. People taking it a lot calmer, a lot cleaner on this occasion than we've seen on some others, but very rarely have we seen the leader actually hold the lead for more than really a lap and a half on one of these restarts. At the start we saw obviously that incident with Ocean Walsh, and last time around we didn't see Tony Uvenen hold on to the lead either. So is Kevin Adam going to be able to do it on this occasion? Well, luckily for him, it looks like more of a single file restart than we've seen at either of the other two.
certainly does. They are too wide right near the back of this pack, but Adam does have a nice 1.5 gap. The problem is Lundberg is giving Blixt a nice push down these straights, and it's very much not helping Adam. He, of course, doesn't have anyone in front of him to knock a big hole in the air, so Blixt is getting a massive advantage on him. The problem is, can he actually try and get past? So because Adam is holding that inside line very tight through the corners, as you can see, leaving absolutely no space down on the bottom. But Blixt definitely does have the advantage. The driver in second usually does. The problem is trying to get past. You can't really go to the inside because there's no room. And going to the outside, he'll need help from Lundberg or maybe Broström as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see if those guys cooperate. Don't forget, he's on the, so far, the leading team here is Eric Blixt. So he might well have help by some of the other drivers in this race. Daniel Solo is back into it. So he might be able to give him some assistance. Andrei Salander as well in this race at the moment, also a teammate of his, so Eric Blixt may well get some help in that respect. They need to get up to him first though, especially Solo, who's laps down at the moment. It looks like Martin Kapal might be out of this race. We'll wait and see whether he just gets back into that car or not, because Daniel Solo briefly did exit his vehicle, presumably to look at what happened, quite possibly, but he's returned to the race now, so we'll see if the 64 gets back in, but it will be a shame for Kapal to retire this early on in this race. Still 130 laps to go at the line, despite the amount of racing that we've had so far and the amount of drama as well that we have had so far. It is a bit of a messy race so far, but it's back to single file now, and Kevin Adam leading the field. Eric Blixt is also on the back of him, and Lundberg just letting a few car lengths open up, really. Eric Lundberg up to Eric Blixt there, so a couple of attempts where everybody else is basically bumper to bumper. He's just letting a couple of, well, it's not even a car length really, it's just a few metres opening up really, but certainly people seem to be a little bit more reserved on this occasion, and you know, this could play into the hands of everybody really. I mean, saving fuel back in the pack could be a big factor later on.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's very often that we see in oval racing that we have drivers sitting back, saving some fuel, and then near the end in a late pit stop maybe, not having to pit for fuel, at least, not having to get fuel into the car. They've been saving it throughout the race. When you are behind a big pack like this, it is easier to save fuel. Of course, if you're out in front, you've basically got to go flat out the entire way. If you're in second, you've got a nice draft that you can stick in, and it's going to give you a bit of a speed advantage, no drag or no air resistance effectively, and so you can lift off the throttle pedal just a bit down the straight through the corners, and you'll still keep the same speed. You won't be able to overtake, but you'll keep at the same speed as the driver in front, and save a little bit of fuel as well. Interesting to note, Martin Kapal is definitely out of the race. It's like completely out of the session, so that's just over. We also had to say goodbye to Ocean Walsh and Alexander Araldson. They're not back out on the circuit yet, and they are at 19 laps and 21 laps respectively, as we are getting very, very close here in this battle for third place.
It's allowing Kevin Adam and Eric Blixt to get away, this battle between Eric Lundberg, who we're on board with right now, and Linus Broström, who, despite being pretty much on his own, has held his own quite well, and now he's going to get the help. Andrei Salander realises that he's actually doing quite well out there, and it might be worth helping him, but I'm afraid he's being hung out to dry ever so slightly. Lundberg pushes Broström that tiny bit wide, just feeds him up the racetrack, but the run off of the corner helps Broström pull back at least level with the orange 17 car on the inside line. He's holding his own extremely well here, Broström, and better than any other car we've seen so far. Andrei Salander just looks on behind and tries to work out which line to follow at this point, but he's just sticking to the inside for now. Broström still on the outside line. This battle going to continue on, but he's doing a fantastic job in that 71 car. It looks very, very capable on that outside line in a way that we've not seen from any other car so far in this race.
Yep, he definitely is. He's been able to stick it out there very well indeed, and actually now he's just dropping back ever so slightly. He was using the side draft very effectively there, but he's let Lundberg pass now, and he is up into third place. He's retained that third place. He's definitely not in a very much dangerous position at all, really, as we are looking at side-by-side still between Brostrom and Salander. They are still side-by-side. We've actually now got side-by-side 3 rows deep as well, as got a little, oh, that's very close to contact there through turn 1. So the 31 of Mazire, and it looks like Norbert Leitner side-by-side just behind them as well.
It's really starting to form up that outside line, and Brostrom tried to get back to the inside there. He wasn't fancying the outside anymore, but Salander was just about there and had his nose in, so he just had to back off ever so slightly as the leaders are getting up towards lapping Daniel Solo, it looks like, and that's going to throw a real spanner in the works of this big pack that we're seeing right now. Mazir not really able to hold the inside line very well. I think it's Mazir anyway. It could be Norbert Leitner actually in that blue car. As we're seeing almost free wide now. Brostrom on the very outside line, and Salander tried to stick his way up the inside there of Lundberg, but couldn't quite do it now. So Brostrom is back to battling with Lundberg, and he's got a lot more help on this occasion. Paul Mazir is pushing him to glory right now and possibly into third position. He does indeed get clear now. Does Linus Brostrom, but he doesn't want to kind of be disloyal to Paul Mazir and dive straight down to the bottom straight away, so he stays up top for a little bit longer as that outside line is becoming even favourable to the inside.
They were just making contact down the straight almost on the last lap, so good thing that all ended out okay, but they are still in a massive pack. This almost looks like a restart more than what we're looking at 16 laps into this green flag stint now. But yeah, Brostrom did a great job of getting pushed into third place. Now he goes down to not really the bottom, sort of in between the 2 lanes that have started to form here. Salander dropping down a little bit to 7th. As yeah, that's a good racing there between some of the drivers, and Lundberg, he really got no help there, did he? He got just everybody moving up to the outside, and he's just got stuck there on his own. He's now got a bit of help, but it's maybe a little bit too late, as he's now having to go side by side with Hagman, who's managed to move all the way up into 6th so far in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a good job from this restart where he started right at the back. 8 positions gained in the race so far. Lundberg has done a similar job. Eric Blick likewise, as some of the main players in this race, like Walsh and Aronson, dropped back dramatically here in this one. The pack continue to race, and what's changing really, it's just the same battles that are happening side by side into 1 and 2. They go here once again. But what it is allowing is Kevin Adam and Eric Blick to get away. They're single file right now. They're not battling like this, and so, you know, logically they're going to get away, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. And it was this exact kind of thing that happened at Nashville, a very similar circuit in the way that it's racing right now. You know, this is exactly what happened. It allowed the 2 leaders to get away, and it was a race-winning advantage in the end. It's too early to say whether that will be the case again, but they've certainly got a similar kind of advantage as to what those guys had nearly 1 month ago.
Yeah, it definitely does have its advantages, but if this group starts to almost get their act together really and start going a little bit less all over the place, as we're seeing at this shot at the moment, if they start working together a bit, they could build up enough speed to drive straight by the lead 2 cars. You see it fairly often, normally with teammates, but they'll go in a big group, they'll drop back slightly, and then they'll just gain all of the speed using a drafting train, and 3-4 cars, the more cars you have in a pack in the NASCAR cars, usually the faster you can go because of the bigger hole that the cars will punch in the air. You'll have one person go around back to the front and cycle, almost a bit like cycling races in say the Tour de France or something. They use that tactic there, they use it in NASCAR as well, and they are starting to close down. The last couple of laps they've gained about half a second on the leaders.
They have indeed, but that is those 3 guys who are out in front of the field. It's starting to single file a little bit here, and as you mentioned, they're starting to get their act together, and it may well see that we get contact at the front, not literal contact, but contact between the 2 groups, if you see what I mean. There's going to be a bit of a reform of this pack, and looking back from those guys up towards the front right now, Eric Blix is going to have to be looking in his mirrors once again. I think he really thought that he was pushing Kevin Adam and himself to a really almost guaranteed top 2 in this one, but as you mentioned, the bigger pack is always going to be advantageous as they push each other along back towards the front again. And so, you know, 2 on their own, racing against, what is it, a 10-car pack, pretty much, 11-car pack. You know, there's only going to be 1 winner in that battle. There has only been 1 winner. And so we're single file with the top 13 in this race, all back together once again.
Yep, and now this will be interesting through turns 1 and 2, as Brostrom leads this massive pack. Out of the exit of this corner, if they gain enough speed, they could even try and leapfrog these 2 cars here. You can see he has got the speed advantage. He's going to have to try and work something out here. He goes up to the outside. If they stick together, the pack that's just caught up to these leading 2, they could, realistically, all pass these lead 2 cars. Stick them on the inside, go up to the outside and leave them there. And as we saw with how Brostrom found his way up into 3rd, they could very easily do exactly the same thing here for the lead of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dynamic situation at the moment, and I'll tell you one man who's trying to make something happen more than anybody else is Bertrand Fournier. You can see the white car on the outside line, but he might well pay the price for it with Lundberg on his inside line right now. Eric Lundberg in the 17 car. We've seen in the battles quite a lot, but Fournier is going to get some help here, and we're on board with that man right now. It's Dominik Lukomski who is trying to get him back towards the front, or at least gain a couple of positions here. The outside line starting to become a bit of an option again, and we'll see if it works out for them. But we're nearly at lap 40 right now as these battles continue on. What kind of race is it going to be here? Is it going to be 2 stops for these guys? Is it going to be just 1 stop? We've seen a number of guys coming in already. We've only got 4 who haven't, but 3 of those are in the top 3 positions right now. So how far can they go? Can they make it to lap 50? Can they make it to possibly lap 75 here and make this a 1-stop race? That is all that we're going to be finding out in the next 10 minutes or so.
Yep, and you can see the drivers on the outside starting to actually gain a bit of an advantage on those on the inside, and that's because the track is starting to wear in as all. The 6 and the 12 getting very close together. It's Fournier and Hagman, with Hagman down on the inside, now down onto the apron. But we had a lot of outside running in the last few laps with that big pack as they tried to catch up to the leaders, and it's starting to wear in that outside line, and as they do more and more running on it, the faster it will get. So whilst it's slower than the inside line for now, if they keep running on it, it could end up faster than the inside line as we progress through this race. It's one of the great things about iRacing on the oval side is that these tracks do wear in. We saw it yesterday in the Crandon event on the dirt. Same thing applies. The dirt wears in. The track here at Las Vegas will wear in, and we'll have to see how these lines that the driver's taking might have to evolve throughout this 150 lap race. We're not even a third of the way through yet, and still Adam leads. So for the first time, the person who leads at the start of a green flag period is actually still leading a few laps later.
Yeah, absolutely, and indeed leading about nearly 30 laps later at this point, because that's when we had that last caution period. You were mentioning there about the guys on the outside line getting a bit of ambition and trying to get back or get some positions at least, but this is the danger. You can see splits in the group. The top 4 this time have managed to get away, although they're sort of battling between themselves. They're just getting through on Daniel Solo, who's being lapped here once again, and he's in danger of losing so many laps that he's not going to be classified here. Just got to be careful of that. But yeah, this is the danger. You could see the top 4 running away with this race, but it's still too early to say, really, as these guys are going to negotiate. Solo in a few minutes' time. There he is on the outside line. You can see now, and he's not getting in the way of anybody. So this is a little bit more difficult. When we saw that pair up in front, it was pretty obvious that the group behind was going to bring them back. But with a working 4 now, it's a little bit more likely that they will stay away. The odds are still not in their favour, but 4 fast cars up towards the front right now have got more chance of staying away and extending a margin than the 2 we had previous.
Yep, that's definitely right, especially if the cars behind carry on battling. It looks like they've just sorted out themselves into a single file position, but in a very similar way as a big group of cars is faster than, say, 2 or 4 cars. Solo is finding out the hard way that a big group of cars is a lot faster than 1 car on its own. Absolutely zero advantage due to draft or getting pushed. and so he is dropping back and back and back. So he will, if there is a caution, be able to try and make up some of that time and get back into the pack. But right now, out on his own, he really has no chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the damage he has suffered is also not helping him, as Fourniret gets down the inside line now, and I don't think Marcus Hagman is too pleased about that one, because he wants to get back towards those front four, and he's not going to be able to if they're battling side by side like this. Dominik Lukomski abandons abandons Hagman completely and pushes Fourniret to the lead of this group, but he almost pushed him completely into a 180 there, and that would not have been good for this group at all. It looks like Fourniret has managed to get out in front, and Hagman has been given the slipstream by the Frenchman, and he's able to get out into second place in this little pack at least. But once again, that's lost them about 0.3 of a second really as we approach lap 50, so it's still costing them time in this race. And just to your point about Daniel Solo, Robert Erling is finding out about that as well at the moment. In P14 he's all on his own and 20 seconds down on the field. He's in danger of getting lapped if the caution doesn't come out too quickly.
Yep, he really is in need of a caution, get some repairs done to his car and get back out into the pack. He is definitely struggling out there, but out in the front, look at these four. They are not extending their gap to the drivers behind, but they're slowly losing time. But every time you get someone like the number 6 car Fourniret sending it up the inside of Hagman, they go side by side for a few laps, it slows them down. The leaders gain a little bit of an advantage. But now, whilst they're running in a single file fashion, they're able to catch back up. Slowly, I might add, they are catching back up. But like I said, every time you get someone going side by side, it does slow them down. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic. Are they going to just settle for the positions that they have, knowing that they can't get any better if they start battling amongst themselves, or they're just going to keep battling amongst themselves? It's we've got to have to wait and see for that. But it looks like they are starting to realise that single file is going to work out better for them in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still not convinced this quartet are going to be caught here without a caution, but it's very much hanging in the balance at the moment, and they're not exactly losing time, that pack behind. He's kind of holding steady, but I really don't think that Paul Mazir is going to be able to hold on to these guys. Well, he's going to be able to hold on to them, but he's not going to be able to stay with them for too much longer, because the three in front of him are going to have to pit soon, and he on his own is not going to be able to hold back the pack in behind here. So he could be in a lot of trouble and could find himself on his own and then back into the leading pack. The trio of cars you can see 1, 2, 3 at the moment are going to work together, and they could end up losing time on the pack depending if they battle or not, and it's going to be a real race between them to see what happens. I'm a little bit concerned about Eric Lundberg though, because he's the only guy who's going to have to come in early, but he's detached from the other three who need to come in early, so he could well find himself very much on his own when these pit stops do happen. And we've already seen in this race how being on your own is not helpful whatsoever. It's a real, it's going to hold you back a lot. So Lundberg is praying this comes back together before he has to come into the pit lane, you can be sure.
I think he's praying that someone else comes together, because a caution would solve that problem for him instantly. He'll be straight back into the back, and he'll be able to pit with the rest of the drivers that are currently on lap 53 of their tyre stint. They have not pitted since the start of this race, and they're not struggling all that much. You've got a couple of drivers now on 40 laps, and they're the most recent of the pitters. So yeah, it's very interesting that they've managed to keep the tyres going for this long. We will have to see if it carries on like this. We might just get some green flag pit stops, and if we do, then you're definitely right. We're going to see drivers like Lundberg start to struggle, especially if they end up having to pit without anyone to come out with in a pack, because they're just going to get swallowed, as we've just seen with Daniel Solo. He's really dropping back lap after lap, just losing so much time, losing around about 2 seconds a lap on a 31-second lap. It's really terrible position that Solo's found himself in. He really does need a caution to try and get himself out of this one.
Speaking of dropping back, Dominik Lukomski can't seem to stop at the moment either. Goodness me, he got chopped across the nose a little bit there as he's dropping all the way back to the end of this train, it looks like, over the next few moments. He's on the outside of Andre Solander now, who's been kind of preserving himself and making sure he doesn't get involved in anything over the last few laps. And there was a couple of moments in these little battles here where they were in danger of splitting apart the group behind completely in their chase of these guys, but at the moment it looks like they've just about stayed together, even though some of the links are a little bit tenuous at the moment between a couple of the cars. Let's see as they run down the back straight. You just see in the background there, Lukomski and Salander look like they've completely shot themselves in the foot here, and they're out of the back at the moment. That gap grows to a second, and with a working group of almost 7 out in front here, then you can be sure that they're going to really struggle to get back involved here. Gunnarsson was only just able to get there. Lundberg is hanging on as well in the 17. You can see the bright orange car. Gunnarsson, likewise, they're really struggling to hold on, it seems, at the moment. You can see them two in the background. But look at Lukomski and Salander. The battling that they have taken part in has really backfired on them very, very quickly there.
Yep, it definitely has. Not the ideal position for them at the moment. I think they're also in a little bit of a need of some yellow flag action as, Lukomski down into the pits. I believe he was on lap 43 of his stint. He pitted in the second caution.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of an interesting one. Maybe feeling that his tyres maybe just not up to scratch at the moment. And if he can get a couple of fresh boots on that race car, and maybe it will help him out in the long run. Of course, if you pit first, get some good laps going, then you can overtake some people in front, but normally not if you're outside of a pack. So that's a very interesting call for him to come down onto the pit lane. I wonder if anyone else is going to follow suit. We are approaching lap 60.
It's a very long stop, I'm afraid, for Lukomski. Well, is it? Let's have a look. Actually, yeah, 27.7 seconds to my numbers. That was, yeah, long pit stop, I'm afraid. So he's going to lose a good 15 seconds at least to the pack. You can be sure there was a bit of damage involved there somehow, but he's going to keep circulating to get some points out of this race. And of course, it's not over yet for him. He could get back towards the front with some cautions, etc. And if he plays his pit strategy right, then he could do something. He's 5th place coming into today in terms of the championship. He was 46 points behind coming out of the leader, Marcus Hagman, at the start of the races. The second group on the road are displaying why they are the second group, because they're battling like this and they're continuing to fall back even further right now. The gap's over 2 seconds.
And it's one thing that we haven't talked about with these drivers battling it out, is they're using up more of their tyres than the drivers that are keeping it smooth up at the front. So it's obviously not ideal to be using up all your tyres. You're going to end up going slower at the end of the stint, struggling a bit more for grip, whereas the leaders, they're just cruising out in front. No position swaps for them for a while now. They are just minding their own business. The gap between them and this second group is now up to 2.1 seconds between 4th and 5th, or 2.5 seconds between the leader and Fornery in 5th place at the start of this little group that's circulating around on their own. But yeah, it's not ideal for them. They're using all the tyres, and it could really hurt them later on in the races. Oh, we have some pit stops, and that's the race leader, Adam, down into the pits. Mazier as well. I think there was maybe even a bit of contact between them as they made their way into the pit entry. It was certainly very tight.
It was indeed. Kevin Adam, oh goodness me, not everybody knew about that. And oh, Kevin Mazier, Paul Mazier, excuse me, Kevin Adam, just about made it. I'm not entirely sure if Mazier got that slowed down or not. We'll wait and see, but I'm not particularly hopeful. Goodness me, Mazier made a very late call to come on pit lane there. He's taken out the cone. Is that even legal? I'm not entirely sure. Mazier is staying there for a long time, though. Kevin Adams' pit stop was 15 seconds. Paul Mazier, I think, got a speeding penalty in a race like this here at Las Vegas. You cannot afford those. You will lose so much time on your own, and Mazier is about to find that out the hard way.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. It was a very last-minute call to come down onto pit road. He definitely did not pre-plan that. He saw the leader go in and thought, oh, I'll follow him. but I think the call was slightly too late. Got slightly loose over the transition between the banking and the flat apron on pit entry, so that didn't help him. And then a massive lockup, of course. I think just making the decision way too late to come down onto the pit road and taking out the cone as well, giving him a lovely big penalty, and very unfortunate stuff for him. But out in front, Fornery and this group, they're not pitting. They, of course, don't need to pit. They've all been running for 50 laps instead of the 60 that the leading group, the net leading group, had run. So looks like the tyres are going to be lasting more or less 63 laps, it looks like, at the moment. And one person that's coming very close to that is Andre Salander, so don't be surprised if he makes his way down into the pits this or next time by.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to be close to a pit stop themselves. He has got to be
there he goes.
Close. And there he goes, yeah. So well predicted on that one. Andre Salander into the pit lane, having come under, after that caution on lap 1. He came into the pit lane rather bizarrely, but he stayed out under the second one, and so that's why he's pitting at this slightly odd time. But it is so crucial for these guys racing. You see in the track map on the bottom right that they don't do this. They don't battle side by side, and it's exactly what they are doing right now. There's going to be a lot of lap time monitoring from everybody here. Kevin Adam, Linus Broström, Eric Blicht and Eric Lundberg. Well, Eric Lundberg wasn't quite able to get out in that train, but Adam, Broström and Blicht need to stay single file as well, but they're not doing it either. Kevin Adam is no longer allowed to lead that group by the looks of things. They're going to push Linus Broström, into the lead for Eric Blicht into second place. So where's Salander going to be? He's out well behind Lundberg, so those two are going to be running on their own. As Fornery also responds and comes into the pit lane a little bit early, so he could well find himself on his own here in a few moments' time if he's not careful. It looks like these guys right here are looking to maybe respond to those pit stops rather than run out a bit longer in a bigger group, which is what I was expecting them to do. They're going to seemingly react to their pit stops and pit themselves.
Very odd move to pit by the number 6 car. Now, it doesn't look like anyone here is going to do the same thing, so that's very odd stuff from Fornery. They did an average pit stop, 14.5. They moved slightly quicker than a couple of the other drivers out on the circuit at the moment. But these three, they've actually got it going here, because if you have the driver at the front slowly cycle back, you'll have the drivers behind getting the draft, getting a bit of a speed advantage and going round. And instead of being held up by the slower car in front, just go straight around. Slower car lifts slightly, and then you've gained a little bit of time on everybody else. So that might be what they're doing. The cycling strategy I was talking about earlier, it might be what they're doing, although as it looks, they haven't done it again. So maybe it was just them saying, okay, goodbye Kevin, we're going to go on our own.
Yeah, quite possibly. It was more likely to be that at this point, really. But if you just look at the lap times right now, a mid-30 for them last time around. The leading group are nearly in the mid-31s. Wow. Nearly a second lost on that last lap time. You can see right now, Fornery has found himself on his own. Lundberg and Salander have found themselves on their own. Dominik Lukomski has lost a lot of time after finding himself on his own. Paul Mazier has found himself a lap down after speeding on pit lane. That's not good news for him. As these guys continue to battle, they are throwing the chance of a race win away, pretty much.
Yeah, they really are. I don't really understand why they're doing it. They're coming up to the end of their pit window, so they've only got maybe 4 laps until they're going to come down into the pits. So I don't really understand why they would be battling each other so hard. Yes, you're supposedly battling for the lead of the race, but realistically speaking, unless there's a caution, they're coming out right behind the net leading pack of Broström, Blixt and Adam. Even if there is a caution, they're still probably going to come out behind that pack, because are they now back onto the lead lap? No, they're not. Oh, that might be what they're doing. Maybe they're banking on a caution. But I don't know. I don't think that's probably the wisest thing to do, because everybody's sort of spread out. Very, very odd things that this leading pack is doing.
I mean, even if they do get a caution, they are going to be in the top 5, and Broström, Blicht, Adam are going to be, further down the order. That is true, but They're not going to trap them a lap down because those guys will easily take the wave around. All of these guys wouldn't come in. I think there may be pit stops going up here, and there is. Uven, Hagman, Gunnarsson all into the pit lane after 61 and 59 laps respectively. Hagman not able to go quite as long, but I think he was collaborating with those to try and come in at the same time. So that would all make sense, really. These two stay out, Norbert Leitner and also Ike David, who we've not seen very much of over the recent laps. Let's see if they follow. Not quite. No, they don't at the moment. But what's their lap time going to be here? Are they doing a reasonable pace, or are they struggling compared to those behind? I would guess that they're struggling, really. And I think they are compared to Broström, Blicht and Adam, who are decimating the field right now. Just look at the gap. Hagman to Adam right now. Fornire is not... He might actually get himself within this group, which is certainly good news for him. So, yes, he does. Fornire, at the end of all that, after running on his own, he's actually gained time. That's how hard they were battling in that group. Hagman and Gunnarsson have come out so far behind Fornire because they were battling so hard, as the two leaders also come in right now. Tony Uvenen's pit stop was very, very long indeed, and so he's lost a great deal of time as well.
Yeah, very interesting stuff there. I think Fornire was probably realised there that he's losing time by being in this field battling each other. Just pit. He was doing equal lap times to what Norbert Leitner and Ike David, who have just gone down into the pits, were doing on their own. So in that massive group, they were losing so much time that even Fornire was able to just keep the same pace as them without any draft whatsoever. And now you'll see the leading three, they're out in front by quite a considerable margin.
They are indeed, as Leitner and David come out of the pits lane right now. You'll be able to see that group behind just reform for a moment and assess the damage, and it's hefty damage, I'm afraid, for those guys. Nearly 8 seconds, more than 8 seconds now between the two groups in this race. It's Linus Broström, Eric Blicht and Kevin Adam who are leading at the halfway stage. We've got less than half distance still to go, just over 100 miles remaining here at Las Vegas. And we'll be back with the rest of the action after this short break. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where we have less than 70 laps remaining in this race. Round 4 of the European E-Racing League for 2021. We'll be at the halfway stage of this championship by the end of this one. At the moment, we've got 3 leaders with a very big lead. Indeed, Linus Broström, Eric Blicht and Kevin Adam have been demolishing the field in the recent laps. In the last 40 laps or so, they have been running away with this one in front of a 5-car group now who are chasing on from behind. They've started to make a few inroads, in all honesty, and all of a sudden this race is hanging in the balance once again, although we do still have nearly 7 seconds of a gap between them. It's Ewan O'Leary and myself alongside Dane Baird for this one, with Arjuna Kankipati behind the cameras for this race. Dane, it's been an interesting one so far. It's been completely split apart, quite a wild way actually. I wasn't quite expecting this much attrition early on, and also this many groups to be all over the place this early on, but finally that second group are starting to get a bit organised, those 5 chasers.
Yeah, it's taken quite a while, hasn't it? We had the first initial split off, and it was Adam and Blix. They split off from the rest of the pack, and they did their own thing for a while. The big pack fought around for a while. Then they sort of got their act together, single file, and caught up to the leaders. And then we just had the exact same thing happen again. 2 more cars split off from that main pack, and then we had a top 4 and basically the rest of the field. And it's remained that way up until the pit stops, where we lost one of the 4, Nazier. He's gone down to 14th place now and quite far back behind anybody else on circuit. He's all on his own at the moment because of a pit lane entry speeding penalty. So very unfortunate stuff for him, but we now have these 3 cars up at the front who have really done a fantastic job of staying ahead, especially through the pit cycle. They played that one to perfection, and this pack here still seemingly wanting to have a bit of a battle out the front, which has really cost them over the first half of this race.
It has. They've got another driver in here as well, by the way, who I'm trying to work out the identity of. It's one of the teammates of Marcus Hagman, and it could well be well, I was going to say Solo, but they're not teammates for a start. So I'm trying to work out who it is anyway, in that car. And anyway, they're helping them along anyway, making it a 6 versus 3, which is a bit more of an overpowering kind of... it's Robert Erling, by the way, thanks for that one. It's Robert Erling, who is a lap down at the moment, and trying to get his lap back actually, and might well be able to. If he's able to overtake Dominik Lukomski for the Lucky Dog, then he could well be able to get it. So he's trying to hang in here in hopes of getting back on the lead lap. And inadvertently, it kind of works for everybody here, but inadvertently, he's helping these guys reform at the front of the race, which is slightly odd to see. We have 11 cars on the lead lap at the moment. Tony Uvenen and Andre Salander are the last ones on the lead lap. As you can see, the lap times being put in by Marcus Hagman and this group at the moment. They're still gaining, but Linus Broström, Blicht and also Adam are gaining on Uvenen and Salander. They're only 3 or 4 seconds away from being lapped on those that pairing, so we could well only have 9 cars on the lead lap here in a few moments' time. That would not help Robert Erling at all, by the way, in his chase to get back onto the lead lap, because it would all of a sudden put him a long way away from the Lucky Dog. But it just shows that these guys aren't going quite as quickly as early, and of course their tyres are slightly older than those of the guys behind.
Yeah, they are. They pitted a little bit earlier, a couple of laps earlier than the drivers behind them at the moment. Also interesting to note, Daniel Solo, who we've been watching for a little bit, all on his own out there on the circuit, not really close to anybody, currently 14 laps down. And of course you have that 15 lap down limit, so he is in danger of not being able to finish this race if he doesn't get, I would say, a caution. There's no real chance of him catching up to a pack. I don't think he'll be able to tag on to the end of one of the packs. He really needs to get a caution here so he can spend a bit of time in the pits, get some repairs done to his car, and catch up to a pack of sorts. I think if we don't get a caution by the end of this race and we stay green all the way to the end, which would be quite impressive, then I think Daniel Solo might just be our next casualty from this race, despite still being out on the circuit. If he drops 2 laps down, if he gets passed by the leaders 2 more times, then unfortunately he is going to have to pull into the pits and retire. I believe that might be him up on the screen in just a few moments. Is it on the outside?
No, it's Lukomski, that is, Dominic
It
Lukomski, and that's important for Robert Erling, who's trying to get himself another position here. But Lukomski's not a slow driver, and he's not got a slow car either, so this is going to disrupt the rhythm of this group a little bit. They'll be praying that he gets to the back of it quite quickly, and they can get into line and sort themselves out here. But Erling and they could shoot themselves in the foot here. Erling and Lukomski stay side by side. The 5 in front just race on, and there's going to be some flapping and wailing behind as they try and stay in the pack. Are they going to? They might just be able to here, and it looks like it's given Marcus Hagman a bit of ambition to go get Fourniret, and I don't know why he's done that, because they could easily get themselves in contention for this race win if they form up properly. But this is not forming up properly at all now, and the two leaders battle side by side. We're back to square one with where we were in this group. They're not going to catch the 3 leaders while doing this, but if they form up, there's 7 of them. There's more of them. There's more than double of those guys up in front. They could easily catch these 3, but they are not staying organised enough to do it.
Yep, it is the problem that they are facing. It's the problem they faced throughout this entire race since lap 15 when we got back going. Yeah, it is a very odd scenario. You'd think that they would realise that they're losing time by doing this. They have the relative box to their disposal. They could be using that and saying, okay, every time I fight with this driver alongside me, I'm losing time. But when we're single file, we're gaining on them. You'd think that they'd just be able to work this out, but it doesn't seem like they have. And unfortunately, they keep going side by side with each other. It looks like we're looking at Lundberg, possibly on the in the inside. No, it's not Lundberg. It's it's the lead. Oh, this is huge.
This is the leaders,
the lead pack. In a lot of traffic.
They are in a lot of traffic, but they might be able to grab a few friends here and maybe increase their pace likewise. So this could actually be helpful. They're going to have a bit of pain over these next couple of laps as they try and sort their way through here. Broström looks like he's finally got to the head of it, but this is Tony Uvinen, Paul Mazier, and also Andre Salander, who have both put a lap down now. They might well end up fighting over that final position, the first man at 1 lap down, because of course if you are the first one a lap down, then you can get the lucky dog and get a free pass to the lead lap again. But they've formed up now, so now it's 6 versus 7 in these groups all of a sudden, and the favour starts to tip towards the leaders once again. Despite the fact they've lost a couple of seconds over this stint so far, they've now got some new friends who might be able to help them to extend that lead again. But let's see how organised they're going to be.
The problem that they have now, the leaders, is that the drivers behind are on slightly fresher tyres. They might not want to hang back and just chill out in this pack, and they might want to fight, and that would be a problem for the leaders. They would definitely be losing time, risk getting wrecked out of the race, of course. That's the big one, the big worry for the drivers maybe. But yeah, not quite ideal there, as it looks like Blixt has taken the lead.
He has indeed. Linus Broström is dropping back to the back of the pack now. Whether he's going to get overtaken by Tony Uvinen is another problem, and it could be a problem in a few moments' time if the two come into contact, but they don't. So Eric Blixt now hits the lead. He's going to get 5 points for leading a lap as well. I believe it's the first one of the day, but he's led laps in most of the races so far. I think possibly all of the races this season, but I've not got a proper stat on that one, so hang fire on that. But certainly going to get a few laps for a few points for leading there, and so he does indeed. 6 of these cars are now involved, by the way, but those guys are battling behind again. They've lost the services of Dominic Lukomski as well, by the way, so it's now a 6 versus 6 by the looks of things, but it could turn to 5 if some of these guys don't get organised. And look at that, the gap's opening. 2, 3, 4 car lengths down the inside for AK David as Bertrand Fourniret was trying to get through on him there. Looks like they're going to sort themselves out as the gap's under 6 seconds for the first time in a while. But in all honesty, we're not that far away from another round of green flag pit stops, and they need to make sure that well, I guess I was going to say they need to make sure that they get the undercut, but I think it's actually worth staying out a little bit longer here and getting the benefit throughout the whole rest of the stint. I think if they stay out a bit longer, then it might work out for them. But let's wait and see whether they pit early or long, because basically if anybody pits now, then they're going to be able to make it to the end of this race.
Yep, they have been able to do that for a couple of laps now at this point. We could start to see pit stops now. That will take the drivers all the way to the end. We saw them pit. The longest stints that we saw were around about 62, 63 laps in the opening round of green flag pit stops. So easily enough laps left in the race to do that once more and have another third stint that will even be a bit shorter than they need it to be. So yeah, definitely within the pit window now, and the pit window should, for these drivers up at the front, Blixt, Adam and Brostrom, they should be pitting more or less on, I would say, in 13 laps or sorry, 23 laps or so. So they're not too far away from them reaching the end of their second stints on the tyres. Adam is going to have to pit probably 2 laps earlier than Blixt and Brostrom, which could prove to be a bit of a problem for him, because he might come out in completely clear air, whereas Blixt and Brostrom, we've seen them work together before, they've worked together in the past, and probably will work together again in the next pit cycle.
They may well do, as this group behind begins to get very feisty, with 6 cars involved. Robert Erling is even getting involved himself here, because Fordyrace found himself at the back, even though there are only 5 cars who are on the lead lap in this train. But Lowett Leitner and Marcus Hagman are trying to looks like they're almost trying to get away, but they're not really. They're just doing what they can. As Lukomski comes in for his final pit stop of the day, looking to maybe do a bit of an undercut. But as we're talking about pit stops and they are upcoming, are we going to see any gamblers going for 2 tyres in this one to save a few seconds in this race? Maybe get that little bit of track position, maybe even vault themselves through the groups, quite possibly. Because it's always a viable strategy in oval racing. That the old 2 tyres, you never know. Somebody may well go for it in this final pit stop.
It could happen. They're going to gain a few seconds initially in the pit stop, but then of course they will have worn tyres on their car, probably the outside tyres that they'll take, so the inside tyres will be worn. And whilst it's not going to cause massive problems for them, they will be slower than the drivers on a full set of fresh tyres. So it is a risk that we may see drivers taking, and of course you've got to take into account the drivers only have, I believe, 4 sets of tyres to take throughout the race, so they've got to watch out for that. There haven't been many cautions, so some of the drivers that pitted in both the first and the second cautions might have shot themselves in the foot a little bit in terms of strategy. If the drivers will usually save some tyres, a set of tyres, until the very end of the race. They'll try their hardest to only use 3, because if they keep a fresh set of tyres, they can then use it if there's a caution late on in the race, which could be very advantageous. You never know. So the drivers will try not to use all of their tyres before the end of the race, but we'll still have to wait and see. There are still 42 laps left in the race at the moment, so quite a long way still to go in this one, and plenty of time for this middle group of cars to come together and give us another caution.
Well, yeah, absolutely. As we go back to the leaders again, if you're wondering there, by the way, why there were only 4 drivers left in that group, then the reasoning, because Fordyrace has come into the pit lane for a start. Let's see how long his pit stop was. It was normal, so he's going to be out on the new tyres trying to do something. And Robert Erling as well was just detached from that group very briefly, so, well, I say briefly, he's still detached, of course, so yeah, that's why it's down to a 4. Goodison overtakes Leitner, as these guys are going to swallow up Eric Lundberg here, who was battling up towards the front not so long ago, but don't forget he had to pit at the same time as these guys, found himself stuck on his own, got detached from that group behind, which he was in before, and now so he's 8th place and a lap down, but he's able to get involved in this increasing group now, and it's becoming quite a large one, and they're starting to extend their margin back out again to those guys who are behind. So inadvertently they've played a masterclass here, and it's not really due to anything they've done. They've just been catching lapped cars who are not actually that slow. These lap cars have been getting themselves onto the back of these trains, and they've been helping the 3 leaders along, so it's been very helpful for them. But the problem may come now as Uvenen and also Salander want to overtake Lundberg, because they'll get the free pass if indeed they do. So the 3 leaders might have to go alone at this point.
yeah, it might come to that point. But I think the lap cars helping them is that it can be even a little bit selfish for them, because if you help someone out at this point in the race and you can help them extend the advantage from the drivers behind and not get in their way and actually help them, it's far more likely for them to do the same for you later on in the season if the roles are reversed. So it definitely is worthwhile helping out the drivers in front. They're not having any disadvantage from it. The lap cars, they're getting pulled along, essentially, and they're helping out the lead cars as well. So it's a win-win situation for the lap cars, which is why they're more than happy to help out the leaders at this time. The problem it starts when you've got a group of 4 drivers behind the leaders that now want to start racing with 39 laps left in this race. As it looks like a couple of the front running drivers, let's see how many laps have they done, nearing on 50 laps on these tyres, so I'd say 10 to 15 laps until we start to get that second round of green flag pit stops. And that might shake up the field a bit. I feel like Kevin Adam is at a bit of a disadvantage, having to pit a bit earlier. I think Blixton Vershom could work together to maybe come out just a little bit further ahead of him than he would have liked.
Let's see. This one. So they run in towards 1 again. Turn 1, that is. Maybe about 10 laps to go before these 3 pit, but it's be another 20 before those behind pit, and with only 17 laps to go, a 2-tyre stop is all of a sudden much more advantageous, and they could find themselves in this group again. However, I think the gap's going to grow to too big of a margin, really, especially considering when these guys come out of the pit lane, they're going to be a lot faster than those behind, as long as they stay organised. And I think they should until the pit stops are all over. Once the pit stops are over, then we could see these 3 battling away. But for now, I don't think it's a good idea for them to do so. But it certainly is for those guys behind as they battle over the free pass. Their race is basically on the line here. They want a caution, of course, but and they need a caution. But being the first car a lap down is the single most important thing for those lap cars we can see in the rear view of Linus Brostrom at the moment.
Yeah, that is for sure, as we really have a 7-second gap now between the lead cars and that second pack that's being led by Hagman at the moment. So that gap still extending lap after lap after lap. Looking down at the bottom of the timing tower though, we've got Daniel Solo on 15 laps. He has got a very difficult mission. He's running 33.5 and the leaders are running 31.1, so he's losing 2 and a bit seconds per lap. It does not look good for his chances of being able to finish this race unless the leaders can pit very soon, and not ideal situation for him as they are now passing an lap car. Is that Solo out on the outside there?
Yes, I'm afraid
it is. Oh dear.
That's it for him, I'm afraid. He's 16 laps down and he pulls into the pit lane now. As you can see, it's the end of Daniel Solo's day. It's such a shame to see. He was involved in that lap 1 incident that we saw between Ocean Walsh and Daniel Arnoldson, Alexander Arnoldson, excuse me, and got into the outside wall, got damaged severely, and he is now out of this one. A big shame for him. He's going to be getting no points for his efforts here today, and Sweden not going to be getting any points from him either. Just a quick word on that, because Sweden have been absolutely dominating the country standings, which we have. Of course, all European countries involved in this championship. No overseas people are allowed. No non-Europeans are allowed. But Sweden have been bossing it, really. They've been very good. And they've also, as well as getting the country standings, you can see why, because 5 of the top 7 are Swedes. Unfortunately, Daniel Solo was one of them. He's probably not going to be after this race, very unfortunately.
Yeah, that's not been the best round of the championship so far for Daniel Solo, unfortunately. This is now starting to be a massive train of cars in this lead pack. It is the lead pack, the leaders are in the pack, but most of the pack now made up of not back markers but lapped cars, and it could end up getting a little bit hairy as they are starting to go side by side now, just behind the leaders. So the leaders are going to be watching this thinking, uh-oh, better get out of this one. as we're on to lap 57 on Kevin Adams, actually 58 on Kevin Adams' tyres. So he is very close to make his second pit stop of the race. I would reckon 5 laps or so to go until the drivers make those pit stops, and we'll see. Are any of the leaders going to risk taking 2 tyres at the stop instead of the full set of 4? I think Adam's going to have to try something, because he is almost certainly going to get swallowed by the Blixt and Brustrom. They're going to be able to stay out a couple more laps than him, and they've got that big pack behind them as well pushing them along, whereas Adam's all on his own, and probably definitely going to be losing that second place, I would imagine.
Yeah, let's see. We'll see if this affects the pace of the group as a whole, or whether it's just going to be those guys behind. It looks like the two groups are fairly matching each other really at this point, as they all come into the pit lane together here. The 3 leaders, Eric Blicht, Kevin Adam and Linus Brostrom, coming together. Now Blicht and Brostrom are pitting early here. I don't know if they're accommodating for Kevin Adam here, because he had to pit a couple of laps early. They didn't want to leave him on his own. They thought that, you know, they were better off as a trio, and if they pit together, then things are going to go better for them. But let's wait and see on that one. The cars go up on the right side and then the left. It doesn't look like anybody's going for a 2 tyre on this occasion, and that is sensible for these guys, especially in the top 3. Blicht is dropped off of the jack, so is Adam and Brostrom in unison. They're almost 3 wide. They literally are 3 wide coming off of pit road. The 3 leaders in this race with under 30 to go battle off of pit lane. Goodness me, I've not seen anything like this at all. Eric Blicht roars around the outside and takes what will turn out to be the lead in this race ahead of Kevin Adam and Linus Brostrom. That was a very, very interesting moment. I've never seen 3 leaders in that kind of situation coming off the pit lane 3 wide on a green flag pit stop before. That was remarkable.
Yeah, it really was. That was a sight to see, wasn't it? The three leaders side by side, all out on the apron as well on the pit exit, still side by side, coming out of the pits there. That was a very interesting sight indeed. But because of that, it now means that they are in the same order that they were in when they made the pit stops, which is interesting. I'm not too sure why Blix decided to pit so early, but Adam definitely, maybe it's the tyres. Maybe the tyres work their best in the first 27, 28 laps of the stint, and he doesn't want to lose that advantage that the tyres would give him in the opening few laps of their stint. That might be a reason why, but definitely a bit of an odd move for Blix to pit early and sort of remove any advantage that him and Brostrom could have gotten by staying out a couple of laps more than Adam. Maybe they were just trying to get away from the pack behind them. It's also another reason why they might have done that, as it looks like Hagman might have joined down into the pits. I think a couple of drivers actually into the pits. It is Hagman, but also Uvenen and Salander as well. Yeah, just in front of him, but actually behind him out in the timing. So very, very interesting stuff that we're seeing in the pit cycle here. With 24 laps to go, we're looking at the current leaders of the race. We are.
It's a trio of leaders once again, but they're being chased down by nearly a second a lap like those guys. You can see in the distance, in some of the background of these shots, you can see Eric Blicht leading Kevin Adam and also Linus Brostrom. Ike David has led his first laps of the day, by the way, so he's going to get 5 points for that one as well. Jonas Gunnarsson wants to do the same, because I don't think he's led a lap just yet, and Norbert Leitner, I think, likewise. But look at the leaders. There they are. They're a lap down at the moment, but they're going to unlap themselves here in a few moments' time. Let's see. Oh, goodness me. Blick doesn't know where to go at this point. This could be a race-changing moment. This could split the leading 3 apart as they all dive and just weave around a little bit, trying to find their own bit of ground. 3 wide in the background with Leitner on the outside line. He's going to get out of the way of everybody. Kevin Adam tries to overtake Blix, but he's not going to be able to just for now. 3 wide involving the leaders. This is a nerve-wracking moment for all of them as they go through here. David is now leading the group. Blix looks like he's going to be able to negotiate this without too much more troubles. Linus Brostrom really gained from that, getting into second in this group.
Yep, Adam got stuck on the outside line and Brostrom just said, okay, I'll make my way through, thank you very much. And he is now in second, but look at how close they are. This is the closest they've been in a very, very long time. 21 laps left to go, and this is when we're going to start seeing them race each other a bit harder. I would imagine you've got the 3 drivers that are now behind them, but on the timing at least, they are ahead of them. It's very interesting stuff. I think we're in for a good final few laps of this race. Hopefully they can keep it clean, and we'll have a fantastic end to this 4th round of the championship. But yeah, it could get very spicy in the final 20 laps.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about those guys behind anymore, because these 3 are going to be fighting it out for the race win, I am sure, at this point. Marcus Hagman is over 10 seconds behind them and losing time, even though he's gaining on David, Leitner and Gunnarsson at the moment. Fournier, after such an early pit stop, has dropped himself 7 seconds behind Hagman now, after running on his own for so long, so that early pit stop strategy has not worked for him. These 3 now basically have an invitation to battle. They've been running single file for so long, working with each other. Now all of those friendships are going to be shattered now, because they've got to fight it between themselves for the race win. Nobody can interrupt their fight at this point, really. It's going to be these 3, unless the others do something miraculous on fuel, which I'm pretty sure they're not going to do. Even something miraculous with the tyres is not going to be enough for somebody to be able to win this race at this point. You can see now the game's starting to be played, with Kevin Adam going to the high side, going down the banking, trying to get the run here on Linus Broström, but I think he's in a difficult position because he can't get any help from anybody behind, since he is the last car in the group.
Yeah, he is definitely in a bit of a tricky situation, although getting down to the inside out of turn 4, that could be fantastic stuff for Kevin Adam, up into 2nd net in the race. He pulls to the outside line now, trying to get a really good run. He did the same thing coming in towards turn 3, so now through 1 and 2, trying to get a good run and pull to the inside off the straight. He's already alongside, heading down the back straight now.
Let's see, he's going to take the high line and swoop down to the inside. Follow Blicht on that white line on the left-hand side of the road. Blicht takes a tight line off of the corner to make sure that Adam couldn't do the same thing that he did to Broström. Now he's got a better run on the outside line though, and he's going to go to the high side once again. Dives down on the banking, using the slope to gain the speed, using the forces of nature to try and gain a little bit of speed over the 95 up in front of him, as these guys fight it out again. Outside line for Adam right now, and these 2 effectively as well are going to be fighting over who's going to have led the most laps in this race. It's got to be close between these guys. Neither of them are going to be picking up laps at the moment, by the way, because we've still got 2 leaders out there, but you get 5 points for the driver who has led the most laps of anybody in this race. It's got to be one of these 2. And there's not many laps for them to fight over it, so they're fighting over the 15 points of a race win, and also the 5 points for leading the most laps, the 15 points being the gap between 1st and 2nd in points. And considering that Blix is very much involved in the championship, Kevin Adam could get himself involved if he strings a few good rounds together. This is a very important fight in the course of this championship.
It absolutely is, and Adam really gaining a lot of speed through the entries into turns 1 and 3 with that line that he's taking. He's taking sort of the traditional racing line, whereas Blixt is forced almost to take the inside line, and now Adam actually just getting a nose alongside the rear bumper of Blixt coming in towards turn 3. He's side by side with him now. He might just get some help from Broström as well. He's just about got ahead on the entry into turn 3, and now with the high line, is he going to be able to make it all the way in front? I think he just about might be able to here. He's going to get a bit of extra speed down the hill off of the banking as well. Broström's ahead too. Adam takes the lead as the David and Leitner both make their way down to the pits as well.
Yeah, they take 2 tyres, those 2, so they've been able to get themselves in 4th and 5th. I think they're going to stay there as well, unless Marcus Hagman can close that margin. For all intents and purposes, though, it looks like Eric Blicht is going to be taking the lead in this championship, because Kevin Adam is in 10th place at the moment. Linus Broström is in 4th and 25 points behind him. So I guess if Broström wins and Blicht is 3rd, then things could change around just a little bit. But Other than that, it's not looking good for Marcus Hagman, who is in 6th place at the moment and could well lose 43 points today if he is not careful, if indeed Eric Blicht gets the race win. But of course, it's a very close championship. There's still half of the round to go and a drop round, of course, as well for him to use. So he should be absolutely fine in this one. Let's wait and see, though, as this battle for 4th also continues on. A good strategy from these two to take 2 tyres and get themselves much ahead of Marcus Hagman, who's had the opportunity of 4th place stolen away from him in this race.
Yeah, Hagman really is. He's just got involved in those battles in that second group of cars way too often. Obviously, he needs to sort of get to the front of those, but I think he just had Forneray and a couple of other drivers there as well, just disrupting his race plan. I think he was trying a little bit to make his way up through the field, and then got to the front of that second train, and it was just really not working out for him. And yeah, he's down at 6th at the moment. Out of turn 4 though, 10 laps to go here at Las Vegas.
3 leaders with a massive ambition to try and win this one, as Eric Blicht is doing the old Kevin Adams strategy, possibly on Kevin Adams here in a few moments' time, but let's wait and see. These guys aren't quite as close as they were a few laps ago, and it is difficult to overtake here at this circuit, even though it's so wide open and there's a few lines. It's not quite like a super speedway. We've been speaking about pack racing all of the time, and you know, these different lines and so on and so forth actually do work on super speedways more often than they do here. There's less lines that you can really use here at Las Vegas, so it is different. And when you're in a group of 3 like this, it's exceptionally hard, because ideally Broström needs the help of Blicht right now, for example, to actually get into the lead. And whether he's going to get that or not is a different story.
It's definitely going to be tight here as they come across the line. Watching on from the flag stand there, as they make their way to 9 laps to go. It's very close here between these 3 drivers. I don't think anyone can really call this, other than the fact that Adam has, of course, the advantage of being in front and in somewhat control. It's so close here between these top 3. It's almost impossible to call who is going to be able to take the win of this race. And not only that, Blixt and Broström are going to be battling it out as well. Of course, if Blixt wants to win the race, he first has to go through Broström. So we're going to see that battle evolve throughout the next 7 laps as well.
Yeah, at the moment there's 25 points between Broström and Blicht, and at the moment Broström is gaining 10 back, so it's getting a little bit closer. Down, so it's difficult for him to really do much. One of Broström's teammates is in front of these guys right now. I'm not sure quite which one, but there is a teammate of Linus Broström up in front. This could be absolutely crucial, because we were speaking about you need somebody to help you, push you to glory in this one. Well, there's one man now in this group who will have absolutely no problems at all with pushing Broström to victory.
Yep, it is just whether or not he can actually get in a position to help him. They're coming around the final couple of corners now, around turns 3 and 4, back on to the tri-oval. 6 laps to go, 5 laps to go. Sorry, as the timing tower updates. There goes that car to the outside. And I think it is Erling on the outside. Yeah. Now, is there going to be any help given? This is very exciting stuff. As the lap car getting involved. No, it's like he's just about dropping back, and they stay single file for now, but across the line, 4 laps to go. It's getting closer.
Gonna need to make a move before long, because there is not long to go in this race, only about 2 minutes for Broström to do anything. Blixt goes to the high side and might try and get through, but he cuts in. He doesn't want to let Erling get involved here, because that would mean Broström would steal a victory, quite possibly. Inside line for Broström. Kevin Adams just left the door open, and through 3 and 4, Linus Broström is going to take the lead here at Las Vegas. There's contact between the two. Kevin Adams holds on to it. Robert Erling has to skate across the grass and keep things pointing forward so that his teammate doesn't lose the race. Kevin Adams going to be third in this one because of that little bit of contact. Let's take another look at it. It's a big moment in this race. Eric Blick looked like he just couldn't hold the white line and drifted up into the side of Kevin Adams.
Well, what an end. I think this is the end of the race here right now, because it is almost impossible to overtake in a group of two, as we saw with Blixt and Adam for the longest time up at the front of the race. 2 laps to go as they come across the line. Brostrom is in the best position possible to take the win of this race. He's coming through turns 1 and 2 now. He's only got 6 corners to go, and he will take the win in round number 4.
Let's see if he can. Blix just shows his nose to the inside. Only 6 corners to go, including these 2. As we go through 3 and 4 for the penultimate time of asking, Blix has got it all to do right now to try and win his 2nd race of the season. White flag in the air in Las Vegas. And we'll see if Blick can indeed take his 1st win of the season, Brostrom has not been able to clinch one yet either. We're going to have another new winner in the European E-Racing League for 2021. It's a 4th different winner in 4 races, but who's it going to be? Is it going to be Brostrom? Is it going to be Blick? It looks like the 71's going to hold on. Blick showed his nose to the inside, but couldn't quite time it deep enough into 3 and 4. So Linus Brostrom in the 71 car is going to win in Las Vegas and become the 4th different winner in 4 races in the European E-Racing League for 2021. A great race that went on right to the very end. Kevin Adams going to be gutted with how his race, or his challenge for the win, ended at the end. But Blixt is going to take the championship lead at the halfway stage after a fantastic race, but it's the Chevrolet of Linus Brostrom who takes the win there, Dane.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff from him there in that 71 machine. Catching up from the front of that big old pack near the start of the race, back up to the lead 2, and then sticking with them ever since, before getting the lead of the race in the dying moment. Fantastic result for the number 71 machine, and we're going to get some victory donuts.
We are indeed, from Linus Brostrom, and boy does he deserve them. What an unpredictable season it's been so far, with Ocean Walsh winning the first race, Cyril Nussbaum at Nashville 2 rounds ago, and the last time out was Marcus Hagman. This time it's Linus Brostrom who's taken the race win, and by my reckoning Eric Blix is going to be in the championship lead by 5 points, assuming the points for the most laps go to Kevin Adam, who comes home 3rd in the end behind those 2. Norman Leitner is in 4th ahead of David Eke. Those 2 had a great battle towards the end that we were not focusing on because there were more important things going on, but it was a good fight. Leitner came out on top. Marcus Hagman came home 6th, once again ahead of Jonas Gunnarsson. Bertrand Fourniret was the final man on the lead lap ahead of Tony Uvernen in 9th, Andre Solander in 10th position. Then it was Eric Lundberg and Robert Erling who could have been involved late on. Paul Mazur as well, who got to the end. Dominic Lukomsky didn't, I'm afraid, alongside Daniel Solo, Martin Kapow, Ocean Walsh and Alexander Arudson for that particular race, all retiring. As I mentioned, Eric Blix is going to be the new championship leader, I believe, assuming the points for most lap then go to Kevin Adam, by 5 points ahead of Linus Brostrom. Marcus Hagman is going to be 24 points back. It's an exceptionally exciting championship, Dane. It's been a good race, and it sets us up perfectly for the second half of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a thrilling race from start to finish. 2 groups of cars battling it out, and yeah, that pass for the lead at the end. Awesome racing. I really enjoyed this, and it definitely does give us a good entrance into the second half of the season.
It does indeed. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed producing it for you here today. My name's been Ewan O'Leary alongside Dave Burden. Arjuna Kankipati has been behind the cameras for this one. Don't go anywhere though. We've got the post-race show coming up here in a few moments' time. But from us here at Racebot TV, it's goodbye for now.
And we're back in the studio. What an amazing race we just had here. A lot of green run action. With me right now, I have Kevin Adam. Kevin, are you with me?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, congratulations on your third position tonight. How does it feel?
Yeah, the race was quite boring, honestly, with this car, but at the end, I got a little bit upset with 3 laps to go because of that little touch, but on the end, it was a good race and a good finish.
Honestly, obviously, you and Brostrom and Blixt were on a different strategy than everybody else. Talk me a little bit through that. How did you make that decision?
Yeah, I think it's all because of some cars pitted on one of the first 2 cautions, or the only 2 cautions, and we just stayed out, so we had less fuel than the other guys, so we had to pit earlier. I didn't know before the first pit stop who was on my same strategy or who had the same fuel than me. So at the end, I had Linus and Eric, who are 2 good drivers, so I was quite happy to be in a good pack. And we just tried to pull off from the pack we had behind and to gain time with the guys who didn't pit it. And at the end, I think it was worth it. We had a nice pit exit also in on 3 wide, so it was quite funny.
Vegas, obviously, super speedway-like with the next-gen car with the patch that is being used right now. We're obviously waiting for iRacing and NASCAR to give us the new updates on this car in the future, which they are working on currently. You're a little bit critical about this car. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, at least with this error package. I know the error package is the actual one from the actual Gen 6 car. But I don't know, all cookie cutter or 1.5 milers are just like a mini Daytona. So we had to lift after half a stint or half a tank. Maybe you had to lift a little bit to not, because the tires were worn out. But in globally, it's just pack racing. If you have someone behind or you are behind someone, you're good. If you are alone, you're screwed. So even if you have a good picked exit or good pit stops, if you are better than the other cars like Dega or Daytona, you're screwed, because if someone is with another car, he will have a big advantage over you. So I don't like this pack. I like Super Speedway a couple of times in the year, but not every single week. So I don't know, the Cup car is with every update or every new Cup car, they make it less powerful, easier to drive, and I always think that the A car or the Cup car should be a challenge. When I entered iRacing, it was really a challenge to dominate that car, and it got easier and easier every single update of the car. So I don't know. Actually, it's funnier to drive Xfinity than the Cup car. That's my resume of the situation right now. But other drivers, I'm sure that they like the car, so it's just my humble opinion.
You're not totally alone, I'd say, Adam. I know that both Blixt and Brostrom do agree with you on that. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the car with the new updates and patches that probably will come sooner or later, and what we will do in the European Eracing League. We might change it to Xfinity League. It's all up to the participants, actually. Kevin, a third position tonight. You are currently running 10th in the championship before this race, and with Gabriel Stö not contending anymore in this championship due to schedule issues. A couple of more spots for you. How do you feel about the end of I mean, we're halfway now, and you had quite a rough beginning of the season. How do you look at the next 4 races?
Yeah, honestly, my first race went quite well with the 3rd position. The second race I had to exit because I had 2 screen frees, and on the second one I just slammed into the wall, I think. And on the first one I got a flex because I crossed the cones of the pit exit. And on the third race, Gabriel slammed into me. He lost the car on the apron of turn 2 in Phoenix. So I'm just not looking at the championship. Honestly, I didn't look in which position I am. I just come every race to have fun, to finish as good as possible, because I always appreciate when someone organizes a NASCAR championship in Europe. So I try to support all I can and to attend every race, even if I'm not in a good position. So as I mentioned, I'm not looking at all the standings. I'm just coming, racing, having fun, and trying to get the best of every single race. And let's see how I end the championship. Maybe I am still able to approach the top 3, but as I mentioned, I'm not checking the points, just running every race and step by step.
Thank you for the support. We love you to have you here in the European E-Racing League, Kevin. Good luck in 2 weeks when we will be back at Pocono.
Thank you, guys. Thank everyone behind the screens, in front of the screens, and on the track.
Kevin Adam, my ladies and gentlemen, 3rd position tonight. A great race for him, and he's always been having the speed in this series. He's a fast driver. Not really friend with this car in particular because it's quite too easy to drive, and that's something that I personally like to hear from the drivers. I mean, that they are looking for another tougher challenge. We'll see what Eric Blixt has to say about that. We'll talk with him in a couple of minutes or seconds, depending on if we have him. Eric, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
2nd place tonight. How does that feel?
I mean, it definitely feels good having a pretty long streak of just getting taken out recently. So first of all, I have to apologize to Kevin for getting up into his side and sort of ruining the fun for everyone, I guess. But yeah, it feels good to actually finish a race with a complete car for once.
That's good for you and good for him too. You guys were running a different strategy, Brostrom, you and Kevin. Talk us a little bit through that.
I don't know what strategy was. Fuel ran out and we went into the pit, so pretty much just ran out the tank and went with it. I mean, it worked out, so it wasn't really a strategy race after the field got split up. So
obviously a winning strategy tonight, and you've just become a father. Congratulations to that. How does that feel?
Thank you. Oh, it's a change actually, but yeah, it's a lot of fun actually
a lot of fun, and
not more time for practice.
No.
There wasn't really any from to start with, so
Kevin was talking about this car being quite easy to drive, and with you don't having too much time to practice, this car might suit you well then.
But I mean, it's easy to drive for everyone, so. But I mean, yeah, I like it when the car is moving around a lot. So the car is easy to drive, but it's very hard to get somewhere. You can't really out-drive anyone, so that's one part I don't really like about it.
Pack racing and full speed around here. Pocono will be the next race in 2 weeks. How do you feel about Pocono?
Super speedway with 3 corners. So,
Super speedway
more
with
drafting, I
3
guess. Yeah, we've done some testing here a few months ago. So, well, yeah, it's gonna be different for sure. A lot of long straights to draft, so hopefully a lot more movement in the field and not as static as it's been today.
Not as static. You're leading the points championship and the drivers championship right now. Is there anybody you want to thank before we carry on with this broadcast?
Well, it's just everyone at Alcantech and all the sponsors, SimLab and Newman Racing.
Of course. Thank you, Eric. Congratulations on your 2nd position tonight.
Thanks.
Eric Blixt is our championship leader right now, and a solid 2nd position for him tonight with a chance to win, but the winner tonight was Linus Brostrom. His maiden win here in the European E-Racing League. It will be really interesting to see what he has to say about strategy, qualifying, because he didn't qualify in the top 5, so and obviously that wasn't the important thing here tonight, but racing with Blixt Adam for the whole night. And we will in just a second have him here with us. Let's see if we can get Linus on the line.
Hello.
Congratulations to your first victory in the European E-Racing League, Linus. How does it feel?
It's a relief, if anything. First win of the season in any of the series that we run, so it's nice to finally get that monkey off my back and get the first win, and it's what a way to do it as well. A massive long run at the end, 2 pit stops, and battling some of the best drivers in the series and somehow getting the win. It feels great. Just a bit bummed for my teammates there, but still I think a pretty solid effort considering where we were after the first couple of incidents.
Solid effort. What went through your mind making the decisions with your strategy?
Well, early on it was just a train. I was in like 4th or something, and we had was it Kevin and Eric at the front, and I thought, well, I'm not going to sit here for 149 laps, so I went up side by side and started trying to race, which obviously let them get away, but I was somewhat expecting a caution later, so I didn't really care about that, because I thought I'm not going to just sit here the whole night and do nothing. So that made it a bit interesting for us, and then when we finally got back to single file, we caught up to those two, and then thankfully they started racing behind us again, so we could get a slight gap. And then when I started running out of fuel, Kevin, I think it was, pitted first, and then I just pitted after him with Eric, and the 3 of us just stayed together the whole race. And then on the final pit stop, I wanted to put myself at the back so I could pit with them, and when Kevin said he's going to pit, Eric said the same, and I went in with them. And then I don't know if you saw, but we went 3 wide out of the pit lane, trying to be the leaders, and from that point on it was just trying to position yourself for the last few laps. And as we were catching Robert there, my teammate, with like 6 or 7 laps to go, I thought that, well, if everything goes wrong here, at least I've got Robert to help me out, and those two are going to race each other. So we're 2v1 here, and then I think Eric saw that and pushed me past Kevin to get me in the lead while Robert was at the back, and thankfully those two came together, and from that point on I just needed to put the air on Eric's nose, and there was nothing he could do. So it's just wanting to stay with those guys and keep it clean all race, and then thankfully it worked out at the end.
A long green flag run here, just 2 cautions, and the decision that changed everything was staying out at that caution, because that's what you, Blixt, Adam, and actually Lundberg did different to the rest of the field, and then you kept to that strategy. It's really interesting to see this. All my notes in afterwards of the race. Linus, next race will be at Pocono. How do you feel about that?
Well, at least on that track you have to lift in the corners and somewhat drive the car, but I think that's going to allow for even more drafting and passing down a straightaway, so momentum is going to be key. And if you're on your own there against 3 or 4 teammates that are working together, you're going to end up 5th in that battle. So keeping a clean car, keeping the momentum, that's going to be the key factors, I think. But I think it's going to be a fun race compared to this track. It's going to be some racing at least, and then I think after that we head to Talladega, and then we finally have another track where we actually race the car. So looking forward to that, but that's like 4 or 5 whatever weeks away. So Pocono is going to be fun anyway, I think.
Before we end this broadcast, is there anybody you want to thank?
First of all, the team, Marcus, Robert and Alex, and everybody else who ran in the Swedish League on Thursday for all the work they put in. You guys for doing the broadcast, and the guys over at RaceSpot obviously always doing a great job as well. Part of that team myself, so I know how much work goes into all these broadcasts. And Eric and Kevin for having a great race together there and keeping it clean all the way up to the end. Obviously that incident at the end kind of took the racing away from us on the last couple of laps, but still a great race all the way through. So just thanks to everybody involved and to everybody watching.
Congratulations to you, Linus, and to Force Esports for their maiden victory. Not for, for the team too, their maiden victory in this series. And see you in 2 weeks in the European E-Racing League.
Thank you very much.
Linus Broström finishes on top tonight after a race with 2 cautions, one in just the beginning and the last one in lap 13. A massive green run race here with over 145 laps during green, and staying out was the winning strategy tonight. And we had 3 drivers who kept to that strategy. They all finished 1, 2, 3, and obviously they never left their draft pack. They were cooperating with each other and competing in the same way, and that's how you do this kind of pack racing, super speedway racing, as we've been talking about the whole broadcast more or less. And a little bit of contact between Blixt and Adam in the end, which left Brostrom to snatch the lead and later the win. Very interesting race both for David and Leitner too, the wannabe SRT wannabe racing team, and 4th and 5th position. A great team effort from those two drivers. We didn't see a lot of them in the late broadcast, but they actually had a little bit of fight there, and it's a good result for Leitner, running 3rd in the championship before we came here, finishes 4 right now, and Eki David on 5th in the end. And our last race winner, Marcus Hagman, finishes on 6th, which also is a great result. Thinking of that, we have a 8-race season. But guys, this is all we have for tonight. See you again in 2 weeks in European E-Racing and the European E-Racing League.